Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Comic Book Chronicles. I am your host, Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at News News Need on Twitter. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram.
South Carolina with Columbia down the way.
And the sound effects you have heard come from none other than our man in Brooklyn, 118_70 on Twitter and Instagram.
What's up, everybody? Co-hosting from the borough of Kings.
Right here, big.
Indeed. And while we are coming here on, well, we'll get to that in a second, never mind. You can find us here, podcast on the Coastal Podcast Network, the CSPN.us.
Do it today.
You can also find us on your podcast perusal pace of choice, whether it be Google Play, Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Coastal Podcast Network's SoundCloud page.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, and leave us all the positive 5-star reviews, especially on Apple Podcasts, because it does matter and helps people find us.
If you would be so nice to do that, it'd be great. But yeah, folks, we're just gonna dive right into it with actually not one but two weeks of Loki season 2. Spoiler free, because we are recording on Thursday night like we normally would, which means the episode just dropped probably like a good 30 minutes before we started recording.
Right, we are taking advantage of place in our schedule. So at the end of the day, we've got 2 episodes of Loki to cover, and it's not always going to be like that. Let's be honest.
Not for much longer.
Right. We're talking about spoiler free or spoiler light. Spoiler free mostly for tonight's episode, but spoiler light for the rest. But ultimately, I feel like these 2 episodes have been the stronger of the batch of episodes that we have gotten so far. And that the writing and the acting is, absolutely top notch in these episodes.
Yeah. Like I said before the show, some capital A acting going on in these 2 episodes, which are episode 3, 1893, which is last week's episode, and this week's episode that just dropped is episode 4, Heart of the TVA.
Yes. So we only have a total of 6 episodes, correct?
Correct.
So we have 2 more episodes. Next week's episode will be the penultimate episode, whether or not we record with an opportunity to watch it or not, we'll see. But I will say that ultimately, it's my hope that they really finish strong. And we all know, I guess with the exception of Loki, most of these Marvel shows have had struggles with their endings. My hope is that Loki continues to finish on a strong note.
Yeah, agreed. I agree with that. And I guess there's a difference between Loki, because of the shows after Loki. Well, some would argue that Loki show was like, well, it's a far apart from where the character originally came from, so there's a detachment there. And
right.
Some of those other shows kind of felt like they were slightly detached, despite what was going on to them. Some would say definitely Secret Invasion probably suffers from that, but
Right.
But regardless, we are talking about Loki season. We're talking about Loki, and so the long and the short of episode 3 was they were on the hunt for a variant of He Who Remains, aka Kang the Conqueror, and they found one. And if the title of the episode doesn't give me any clue as to where and when, then yeah, you got it right there. Which leads us to this week's episode, like I said, Heart of the TVA, where, the reason why they needed this variant was made apparent in last episode because things are going down. Things are afoot at the TVA.
Right. Things are about to hit, the poop is about to hit the fan. Things are about to go down the poop chute. There's lots of poop things that I come up with, but ultimately things are in crisis mode, at the TVA. So ultimately, a plot is hatched. There are multiple plots being hatched, to be honest, and control of the TVA is at stake. The future of the TVA is at stake. The timey-wimey time travel stuff still gets a little getting used to if you're not into it. Yeah. So I would say that I think these last two episodes, more so than the first two, really helped me sink my teeth into the series.
Which actually, without spoiling anything, kind of reminds me of something that happens in the show. Is like I got the sense that something that happens in the show that happens in episode 4 was going to happen at the end of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently, it not only does it not do that, but I feel like the writers were like, okay, this is probably gonna lose some people, and they even built in a thing that one of a character said to be like, hold on. Like there was a line directly built in to be like, hang on, we're gonna get there.
Right.
So there was that. That being said, Agent 70 said something about the end of the 4th episode that I want him to repeat because and there's a reason why I want him to repeat it because it's gonna bring me off to something else that I noticed with episode 4. You said the way they were standing around kind of reminds you of something.
Oh, thank you. I was just like, wait, what are you talking about? Oh, yeah. So at the end of this most recent episode, tonight's episode 4, at the end of it, the majority of the characters that we follow in this story, in this show, are standing in a room in the TVA, looking out a view screen, basically, looking out a window. In reality, and what it resembles, and what's happening resembles scenes from various Star Trek properties, where everyone is standing on the bridge of a starship. It's shaped very similarly, and looking out the view screen at what's going on outside the ship. And it was very, very it just seemed very familiar to me in that way.
Right. And when he said that, I didn't think about it at the time. I was like, yeah, he's right. But also that also brought me to something else that kind of reminds me of a Star Trek episode, and not, well, the music is more of a Doctor Strange / they're going for a distinct sci-fi thing with the music in there. So, and I've been loving that. But there's a couple of things that happened in the story that we kind of alluded to that happened in this episode that definitely reminds me of a couple of episodes of some sci-fi show or some show in general, but definitely I've seen episodes of a Star Trek show or some sci-fi show where you see a dividing line between some characters and some things, which may or may not lead to a thing, but it doesn't actually go that whole route. But you've seen it in a sci-fi before. Let's put it this way. Mm-hmm. And then it was like, yep, that in itself kind of reminded me of a Star Trek or some similar sci-fi show that would have something like that to happen. So it was good that Agent 70 had said that to kind of re-spark that. And it's like, yep, there we go. They're hitting the beats.
Yeah.
But overall, this episode had a lot in it, but weirdly enough, you kind of there's a part of it kind of expected there to be something at the end of it, meaning like a mid-credit or after-credit scene, and there was not. So we can go ahead and say that. I mean, that may or may not be spoilers to you, but hey, it's a thing. You want you to waste your time anyway. But given how it ends, you would think there should be, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
But it was a good
Yeah.
episode. I enjoyed it. Like I said, the acting was great.
No. Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Finish your point.
It was like the acting was great. The way it ended off was like, oh snap. Okay, you would think, you know, this could be a certain point, but at the same time, like no, we still got a couple more episodes, and definitely want to see where this goes.
Yes, definitely. I this is probably the first time in a while where I've watched this series and been like, I want to see what happens next. You know?
Right.
So, you know. But in any event, Jonathan Majors doing his Frederick Douglass Victor Timely thing is pretty fun to watch.
So I guess that brings up something else from episode 3 that people, well, it brings up a couple of things because, and I guess that might get touched on in the news in a way, but people I had seen after episode 3, people were kind of down on his portrayal, and I'm sitting here like, did you not watch the first season when he popped in? Because I feel like it is not that much different from that. He's playing a different character in a similar way, kind of eccentric,
right?
But at the same time, it's like, how are you putting out? But also, part of me was like, you know what? I wonder if you would have said this if dude didn't have any allegations against him.
Yeah, right. So, you know. Oh, and by the way, before we go, mild spoilers for tonight's episode. You'll see how Ouroboros actually fits into the story.
Yes, it's well, I feel like that was
understood.
Well, no, not that, but I feel like that was kind of
a flag.
It was telegraphed.
Yeah.
By the first episode. I feel like.
Yeah, but it was kind of fun just to see them tie the loop in the story.
Totally. They even kind of hit you with it again. It's like, oh, it's like this. I'm like, yeah, we got it already. We got it. You didn't have to do that, but I appreciate it. Maybe somebody wouldn't have gotten it, but
pretty much.
So, but yeah, that was Loki season 2 episodes 3 and 4. If you haven't been on it this far and you're caught up on the first season, you really should. It's pretty good. It's been pretty good.
Yeah, just jump in. You know, it's not the Marvel you expect, and that's, I think, the show's strong point.
Or is it? Because we don't know what's going to come out of it.
That's true.
Well, I mean, we do. We're supposed to know what's coming out of it, but things are in flux at this point. So you know,
right? Well, I mean, even given things like the SAG-AFTRA strike ongoing and the Writers Guild strike just ending, that's throwing things into flux as well. So
right.
We'll see how all of this eventually shakes out, you know, much to Kevin Feige's chagrin. We'll see. You know, I'm sure he's probably, one of the more nervous Hollywood executives right now because he's got a lot on his schedule.
Yeah. It definitely feels like between this and the last episode, there may or may not be a swerve due to us by the end of this episode. I mean, due to by the end of this season of one, sure. That's probably expected. But we'll see. That being said, we're going to push off into the books, this week's books, with Amazing Spider-Man number 36.
Amazing Spider-Man number 36 is written by Zeb Wells with pencils by Ed McGuinness, inks by Mark Farmer, colors by Marcio Moniz, and letters by our favorite lettering paisan, VC's Joe Caramagna. So if you thought we were not going to return to some of this limbo stuff from Dark Web, if you thought we were not going to go back to any of that, you were wrong. I was wrong. I thought we were going to leave all that stuff behind, but no. So we're back, and we got Rec Rap to prove it. And I'll let Roddykat pick it up from there.
Yeah, hold on. I'm sitting here trying to fix a thing here.
Oh, I heard dings. Well, then I guess I'll just. Do you need me to keep on going?
No, I got it. I just need to. I can fix that. And plus, I forgot to. Oh no, I did do it. Okay. But yeah,
I figured I'd you up with Rec Rap and go from there.
Yeah. So yeah, you pretty much pinned it there. It was like because I knew we were going to see this character at some point. Again, because apparently Zeb Wells can't help himself, and he kind of let that genie out of the bottle. But to what end? wasn't sure, and now this feels like, and it probably is the case. It was like, well, you know what? We know we're leading into gang war, and there is sprinklings of that in this issue,
Right.
but we're leading into that by doing something a little bit lighter, I guess, for the next, let's say, probably a couple of issues.
Probably.
That's pretty much what this feels like.
We're even getting a Mad Balls reference. Remember those?
Yes. Well, and
I laughed. I looked at that. I was just like, what?
Marvel did have the
Who has
license.
the license. I was about to say, did Marvel have the license for that?
They
for
totally
comics?
did. Starline. Yep. Star Comics
Oh
line.
my god.
They totally did.
That's too funny.
So yeah, I saw that too. I was like, okay, I see what you did there. That's all right. Well played. But
Right.
overall,
So So one element of Dark Web has returned. You know, the connection between Madeline Pryor, aka the Goblin Queen, the only Goblin Queen that we know, and Peter Parker continues to exist and continues to expand.
right. And I love how early on Peter asked the question I've been asking, and somebody needed to ask Luke Cage during it all this. It was like, which was answered. It was like, wait, so these laws that's been on the books that's kind of hindering some things where superheroes are confirmed, like, which can't you do something about that? And then there was an explanation on that. Spoiler alert. But at the same time, I see why we're still here. There's a reason why we are still here, why we're still going through this, and probably going to go into gang war, and probably won't be settled out until after gang war. I have a strange feeling.
Yeah, I think that's one of the setups for getting rid of this particular law that's on the books. Right. I would say that, obviously, if schools do not teach civics, and unfortunately, in today's world, we all know that civic engagement is low, and sometimes it's high amongst the wrong people. So I will say that mayors generally do not, and executive branches generally do not make laws. That's usually, at least in a federal or a system like New York City's, or in most states and municipalities here in the United States, it's usually other elected officials forming some sort of legislature that make laws. So, it's not up to the mayor to do that. I was kind of half expecting Cage to say that. But when Roddykat mentioned, what he mentioned about what it might take to change things, I saw that as the clear setup for gang war and its aftermath.
Mm-hmm. And since it's comics, like they're civics are a loosey-goosey subject, all in certain cases. So
come on, you can be a bill on Capitol Hill.
You hope and pray that it will, but today it's still just a bill.
I know. All right, moving on.
Pull that out of the cap.
I was about to say, President Bartlett, I need some, democracy pornography. I go watch The West Wing.
What's next?
By the way, Schoolhouse Rock is on Disney Plus for you younger folks. Get you some education. Next book for us is Uncanny Avengers number 3 of 5. I guess is what you're not saying.
Yes. It is, in fact, an acknowledged limited series. It's written by Jerry Duggan, with art by Emilio Liso, colors by Maury Hollowell, and letters by VC's Travis Lanham. So, in this issue, we get a fun kind of set of, let me rephrase it. We get a fun repurposing of the Uncanny Avengers, because you have one kind of moment for Cap to do his speechifying thing, but also a moment to continue on their mission to take down the current, what is it, the Mutant Liberation Front, right? That's the name that they've taken?
Yes.
So I thought that was interesting to see those characters, as they had been kind of assembled into a new Avengers slash X-Men team, this Unity Squad, where it's up to them to, really, act as a team. And I kind of liked how Duggan broke them up into groups. Especially one group was kind of interesting, and I'll leave that, and I'll hand it off to you at that point.
Yeah. So one pairing would be Monet, I can't whose superhero name I can't remember, and Quicksilver, who are paired up for a reason. Which, as much as I hate to say this, Monet is no stranger to getting around to Quicksilver. Some would argue also. So they seem to be making them too close. For
making them very friendly, let's say.
Yes, indeed. And all the while, other members of the team are doing things. Which is this is kind of funny because this is issue 3, and last issue there was almost a coup. And that's a little stronger word, I know, but it's close enough because Rogue and crew was like, "Hey, Cap shouldn't be leading this team because of X, Y, Z." And the emphasis on the X part. You see what I got there? Haha. But this issue kind of comes back around, was like Cap kind of in certain way, shape, or form still kind of leads the team in a way, because he's like, well, I'm gonna do this thing that he would have kicked off somebody off of the Avengers for, but turned it into something to bring the team together and do things. Although, the team also in itself, they seem to be all in drift, in losing the parlance of Pacific Rim. Because it's like, yeah, all right, these Unity teams kind of got their stuff together. So, and I do love the one little panel where it was like, well, I think it was it Psylocke and Monet was talking, and it was like, I like him.
Yeah.
It's like everybody does. I'm like, yep, that's pretty much the case. While Cap was doing his speechifying. So overall, it was a pretty good issue. Pretty brief, and the cover doesn't really show what actually happens, to a point at least. Right. Sure, there's some part of it that does, but not the way this is being portrayed if you're watching the video version.
Right. And ultimately, if I recall, that happened in the previous issue.
I believe that is the case. Although the flavor text
issue for the first issue.
Well, you know what? I can't remember either way. But yes, you're right. Something like that did happen. But heating factors. But I was about to say, because the flavor text for this was like, hey, something's going to happen to certain, something's going to happen to a character, and it didn't. Go figure. Yeah. Regardless, that's an Uncanny Avengers for us. Like I said, continues to be a pretty good book. I kind of wish, I don't know where this is going to end off, but I wouldn't mind seeing this book kind of continue to have legs, because the first volume of Uncanny Avengers was a pretty solid book. It went some places, but it was a pretty solid book. But I guess with everything going on with the coming fall of X and whatnot, I guess it was like, well, we don't need this around for that long. So we'll see. Either way, now rapid fire, sir.
All righty, we will spin it up.
I ain't got time to breathe.
All right, so I will lead off with Tales of the Titans number 4 of 4. It's written by Andrew Constant with art by Branton Stein, colors by Lee Luffridge, and letters by Wes Abbott. So this is the 4th issue in this mini-series that focuses on 4 separate members of the Titans, formerly the New Teen Titans. And so, it's the same 4 characters that were focused upon in the first go around, but now we've got in this issue a focus on Beast Boy, aka Garfield Logan, aka Changeling. So according to Roddykat, there are elements of this story, and I can see them now as soon as he mentioned it, because I have not, and I've been very probably purposefully avoiding solicitations and just taking books as they come. I don't know if I'm doing the show a disservice by doing that, but that's more for my own enjoyment of things. And so whether or not this leads into something, we'll see. But I rather enjoyed seeing a few developments and catching up with where Beast Boy is now as a character, because he's obviously come a long way from the character that I grew up reading in the New Teen Titans. So a lot of things have happened. A lot of things have happened recently. One of them is dealt with. One particular development that is relatively recent is now dealt with in this issue. So there's a minor reveal, and I won't spoil it, but it's actually, it makes sense that they would take some extra time in another book to do that, as opposed to the regular Titans book. Next up is Alpha Flight number 3 of 5. It's written by Ed Brisson with art by Scott Godlewski, colors by Matt Miller, and letters by VC's Travis Lanham. I will not spoil this. I believe Roddykat intends to read this and catch up on this. But more Alpha Flight goodness. We do find out in this issue who is behind the mask of the lady with the sword. I forget the character's name.
Nemesis.
Thank you. We find out who that is. Next up is Captain America number 2. It's written by J. Michael Straczynski with art by Jesus Saiz, colors by Matt Hollingsworth. Wow, that's a terrible typo in my sheet. And letters are by our favorite lettering Python, VC's Joe Caramagna. So the cover, as Roddykat is wont to ask, and now I'm in the habit of asking it and commenting on it. The cover, what's depicted on the cover, sort of happens in the issue, but not listen. Shout out to Madison. It's not the way you think. So, otherwise, though, we're continuing to travel down parallel paths in this story. We are looking into a slightly more MCU-ified version of young Steve Rogers, slightly more. But the point is, they've never really told these stories, so it makes sense that they would pull from the MCU Skinny Steve influence and expand on it. So it really does make sense, because these really are untold stories. Steve Rogers, before he decides to enlist, right? In all that time. So it's an interesting concept that had been heretofore unexplored. So I'm glad that Straczynski's exploring it. And the current day story is okay. It's a little bit too supernatural for me, but you know what? I'll let it play. It's only the second issue.
Some would argue it might be a little too supernatural for Cap.
We've lived through Cap Wolf, so you never know.
We got him back, actually, because the
That's
Cap
true.
Wolf last week.
That's true.
But I'm just saying normally, but yes.
Right. Next up, though, Captain Marvel number 1. It's written by Alyssa Wong with art by Jan Bazaldua, or Jan Bazaldua. I believe it is Jan Bazaldua. Colors by Brian Valenza, and letters by VC's Ariana Marr. I won't spoil this. I think Roddykat's going to try to catch up on this as well. This is a new number 1 issue that is meant to capitalize on the timing of the release of the new Marvels movie. To that end, the story in this will throw some people for a loop, because it ties together two kind of disparate concepts. It's a concept that was central to Captain, the Kree Captain Marvel and Rick Jones, but has never been a part of Carol Danvers' time as Captain Marvel until this movie seems to be bringing that in. And so it makes sense that they would introduce that concept into the comics. So that's really the main sort of spoiler for this issue. It's not a spoiler in the sense that you could absolutely expect that they would try to do that. If you've watched the trailer at all, you understand that it's a concept that they will be exploring. in the Marvels movie. But, up until now, it has not really been part of Carol Danvers' story. So we'll see where they take it from here. Next up is Immortal Thor #3. It's written by Al Ewing with art by Martin Coccolo, colors by Matthew Wilson, and letters by VC's Joe Sabino. Guess what, folks? Al Ewing on Immortal Thor, candidate for Kliq of the Week once again. This was an incredible issue. Written so well. There's so much to it. Thor and Loki, they're in their element. They're reviving some of their relationships, their old ways and the new ways and how they relate to each other. And it's a lot of fun. And there is setup still going on. It's only the 3rd issue of this new arc, of this new story. So ultimately, I think Al Ewing is telling another great tale. I'm definitely planning to pick up a paper copy of Immortal Thor #3 when I get a chance. Next up is Jean Grey #3 of 4. It's written by Wheezy, Louise Simonson, with art by Bernard Chang, colors by Marcelo Maiolo, and letters by VC's Ariana Mar. It's been clear that this miniseries explores what Jean Grey is going through in the midst of the attack on the Hellfire Gala. So we are in another moment of her history, namely the Inferno section and everything that has to do with Madeline Pryor. So that's all I will say. It's a lot of great storytelling. I won't spoil too much because Roddykat will probably read this as well, but he understands the story conceit, which is, the concept that the Wheezy's exploring is kind of what if, or paths not taken, the road not taken, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
So that is, that continues in this issue. Next up is Ms. Marvel, the New Mutant #2 of 4. It's written by Iman Vellani and it's co-written by Iman Vellani and Sabir Pirzada, with art by Carlos Gomez, Adam Gorham. Colors are by Eric Arciniega, and letters are by our favorite lettering paisan, VC's Joe Caramagna. We continue down this path of trying to figure out how Kamala Khan is a mutant, and I think one of the best concepts that is being explored here is Kamala's imagination as a fanfic writer, as a fan of the Marvels, the Kurt Busiek concept of the Marvels and the heroes of the Marvel universe prior to discovering that she was an Inhuman and then later a mutant. And I really like that in this miniseries so far. And I did not read this. I think this was cut and pasted by accident into my sheet. So yeah, that's it for me.
Oh, did I put that in yours? I certainly
Yeah.
did. Didn't I?
I was like, I did not read Uncanny Spider-Man #2, and Roddykat is going to put that in his sheet, so he's about to talk about it.
I certainly did. Actually, wait, why did I cut it? Wait, I already had it on mine. All right, so great. But yeah, shout out to this while I'm doing that. Well, while I'm scraping that off, shout out to this Terry Dodson classic X-Men homage variant cover. Of course, it says, "Welcome to the X-Men, Miss Marvel. Hope you survive the experience." If you're not watching the video version, which you should.
You should.
Yes, you should. But it's a nice cover. Dawson does some nice work. So, that could have gone way wrong. Thankfully, it did not. We get to my books with, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Saturday Morning Adventures, I think, #6. Story by Eric Burnham, art by Sarah Meyer, letters by Ed Dukeshire. So this is the actually going back to the political well for quite a second. Apparently, it is there is a runoff election, a special election in the city of New York for mayor. Speaking of, and one of the Turtles' many adversaries decides to run for mayor for a reason. This particular character is a robot and is apparently saying all the right things until, of course, you know, as things tend to happen with an episode of this version of the Turtles or just in general, you know, the true colors are shown. Yeah, this is so. If for folks that don't know, the Saturday Morning Adventures moniker is pretty much like, hey, you know, this is a certain era of this particular, these particular characters, which in this case would be, you know, the old '80s cartoons. So this is the only one that has a continuing set of continuing book though. But it's just been pretty fun. Some fourth wall breaking going on here in a couple of different ways. But also, is Agent 70, you as a New Yorker, there's not a debate about, well, one, hamburgers versus pizza, or two, the point whether pizza is, well, New York is the capital of the pizza nation.
Yeah. Yeah, New York is the capital of Pizza Nation. No matter how many lists come out that say the best pizza can be found elsewhere, we not having that.
Well, apparently this particular issue makes a case for, well, it doesn't necessarily make a case for hamburgers, but that comes up into the mayoral debate that is being had here, which is like, well, first of all, that is a crazy question to kind of have right off the bat. But at the same time, you got to consider what kind of book this is. So it's kind of funny.
Right. Right. Burgers is something else. I've always thought that great burgers can be had in almost any locale. Pretty much. Pub burgers are often the best burgers I've had ever. So.
Yeah, pretty much. That being said, yeah, fun read. Next up, though, and I'm going to say this quite carefully. You will understand why in a second. Darkwing Duck, Negaduck, number 2. I don't want there to be any kind of misconceptions or misconstrued my words here. Funny. So just saying, this is going to be a precarious book for the next for as long as this book lasts.
All right. So, appreciate us enunciating very well and very slowly.
Exactly. Script by Jeff Parker. Art and colors by Ciro Cangialosi. There's a lot of there's a lot more Italian names in comics that we've seen within the last few months. Not saying that we're not already done there, but just more so than we've seen previously. So
sure. I mean, at the end of the day, what's great about, as much as we decry what digital art has done to certain things, I think what it's done, one of the benefits of it is that it's really exploded who can, supply artwork, because all of these files are being transferred digitally. A lot of it is being prepared digitally, and even if it's not being prepared digitally, it's being transferred for coloring and for reproduction digitally. So you can be anywhere on Earth and draw your heart out and draw the best comics ever. And one of those, I don't want to say untapped, because it has been more and more like a Comic Con centric place. There have been pretty famous Comic Cons being held in Italy, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. And some very notable artists coming out of there.
Right. My point being is that it's become a hub.
Right.
And now, as you said, circling back to your point, more, just more artists gaining exposure and gaining notoriety as a result of being able to get their works into American hands and worldwide hands.
Mm-hmm. So back to Negaduck number 2.
No.
So this is the Darkwing Duck's arch nemesis. He's got this plan that he's already hatched, and he needed some help. Unfortunately, he needed some help from Darkwing Duck's main boo, Morgana Macabre, and who doesn't very like him very much for a couple of different reasons. One of which was just stated, but that kind of goes a certain way, and Darkwing's nemesis is well on his way, but he's got some folks on his tail who are pretty much going after the same thing he is, because I guess they either felt left out or XYZ or ABC. But this is basically leading somewhere, because I believe this is a miniseries, and I can't remember how many books it is. I think it's 5, but I'll have to look again regardless. But continues to be fun, just like Darkwing Duck's main book is. And also, just like the Turtles books I just mentioned, also face the fourth wall right off the bat, which is kind of funny. But, the similarities of that book and this book are basically because, hey, these are based off of comic book cartoon characters. So, yeah, not surprising there. Next up, and there's a whole lot of books I wish I had a chance to read. Star Trek number 13, the continued adventures of Benjamin Sisko and the crew of the Theseus. Written by Colin Kelly and Jackson Lansing, former guests of the show. Artists by Marcus Toe. Colors by Lee Luffridge, and letters by Clayton Cowles. Moonlighting away from BT at this point. So yeah, like I said, after the whole Day of Blood situation has been taken care of, which has been the case, and after we found out what is going on with the crew of the Defiant, as of the last version, the last issue of Star Trek Defiant, we found out what happened to the other side of that equation in the crew of the Theseus, in which Starfleet pretty much gives, despite everything that happened, Starfleet gives Benjamin Sisko a celebration, but it feels like it's also under the guise of sending him out to another mission, thanks to one particular admiral. There's a Star Trek Insurrection reference that I didn't catch off the bat, but also I don't really think too much about Star Trek Insurrection that much. So yeah. The odd ones are the good ones. Well, actually, I gotta take it back, because Wrath of Khan is a great movie. Regardless, this was beside the point. But yeah, Sisko's new mission with the folks that are left on the who remain on the Theseus, I should say, lead them back to a group of people he's kind of familiar with, and that's the Zenkethi, who also familiar with this group for a very personal reason, is the young ensign Sato, whose family has had a lot of who's had some run-ins with them with this particular ship, although, because of folks that don't know, that this is a very old ship at this point. So so this new mission kind of kicks off, and they get to a certain place, and we get met by another Star Trek veteran that one of the away mission crew is quite familiar with, having served with them. But also we see this person in a new light that we don't really get to see, although they were supposed to be babysitting a couple of characters' kids, but that's not the case. So we'll see what's going to lead Sisko and crew, what trouble Sisko and crew gets into from this situation. And this is part 1 of I think it's called Glass and Bone, as you can see, or Blood. Yeah, Glass and Blood, whatever the case may be. Has nothing to do with Day of Blood. Actually, it says Glass and Bone, so excuse me for that. But yeah, it's a new arc and new adventures and good stuff continuously. Next book. Excuse me. Void Rivals number 5. as soon as I can find it. I love it. Sorry, folks. Written by Robert Kirkman. Yes, that Robert Kirkman. Art by Lorenzo de Felici, with colors by Patricio, and I think that's Patricio Del Pesh, with letters by Russ Wooten. So, for those that don't know, this book is set in the Inner John universe. That is the shared universe with Transformers, G.I. Joe, and this book. In fact, this is the book that kicked off that universe. A point that they continuously make by throwing some Transformers stuff just all willy-nilly in the course of these issues. For instance, the plot of the issue kind of goes along, and then poof, we got some Transformer stuff, and then it goes back to the story at large, which is kind of funny. Although in this particular issue, there was a reason for it, because it seems to be a blending of the two coming forth in this book particularly. We've already seen Transformers #1 fly off the shelves, and I think already getting a second edition, and we've got the ties to that, but not to G.I. Joe, which, by the way, gets a preview at the end of this book, because there is a preview of the Duke miniseries that is at the end of this book. So yes, definitely, putting the ties out there for people to kind of like, hey, we got this coming also, by the way. But this book directly has nothing to do with G.I. Joe outside of that. And the premise still continues to be, you got these two warring factions that apparently don't know they have a shared history, which kind of is going to also come into bear, because there was a double cross, which ended up being a triple cross, and some backstory for one of the characters ends up probably going to end up informing some things that happened in this book. On the other side of that, speaking of Star Trek, in a very Star Trek-like fashion, another character whom you can see on the cover of the book, if you're watching the video version, meets the Resistance, let's just say, and that is a very Star Trek thing. If you know about the unification arc of Star Trek Next Generation, so there may be some of that going on in here, and it feels pretty apparent. So there is that. But it's on its own. This book still continues to be halfway decent, or pretty good. But you kind of come in for the tie to the universe at large, but you may or may like what you get into this. But hey, some good stuff. Last book for myself is the aforementioned Uncanny Spider-Man #2. I don't know if Agent 70 said he was behind this book, so he's probably going to check this out at some point.
At some point, but go ahead and spoil it. It's okay.
It's written by Cy Spurrier, with art by Lee Garbett, color artist Matt Miller, and letters by VC's Joe Caramagna. So, Kurt's still in his spider gear. He meets pretty much, if you're watching the video version, you see in the cover, and yes, he does end up fighting an MCU version of the Rhino. But there's some other things going on with behind that, and apparently Kurt may or may not was already a hip to going in and out of a fight. He also meets a certain I guess you can call her an ally of of Peter Parker Spider-Man, whom they have a pretty interesting interaction with in the middle of this, because there's a reason for that, and again, I'll let Agent 70 discover what that is on his own. But this is a pretty fun book, and there's another thing that is a part of this from the X side of the corner that we were like, okay, I did not know this was a thing, because I thought this character was in a certain place, but apparently not so much. And we also get I will spoil this, we get a guest appearance for some strange reason by Dagger of Cloak and Dagger fame.
Okay.
Yeah, that part was kind of like, wait, is Kurt like tripping? Is he got some mind things going on? Because we do know he has a somebody on his shoulder, but we still don't know why that is, unless that comes from one of the X books that I didn't finish reading. Don't know. But like I said, Uncanny Spider-Man continues to be a fun book so far, and yeah, that is it for myself. Kliqs of the week.
Kliqs of the week.
I totally forgot to ask the other folks, but I'm pretty sure they're behind, so they probably didn't have anything anyway. And I have a strange feeling that I know Agent 70s.
Yeah, I mean, I sometimes spoil things myself, especially my own Kliq of the week when I talk in glowing terms about some of the books that I've read. But I will tell you that I enjoyed a few books this week. I enjoyed Captain America #2. I think Straczynski's doing a good job. I'm not so sure about this magic element in the current day part of the Captain America story, but I am enjoying the book overall. I enjoyed Jean Grey #3. I really like what Wheezy's doing with this story. I enjoyed Uncanny Avengers #3 just because of Cap speechifying, and there's a kind of a lighthearted tone to the series, even though there are some pretty serious things going on, like Captain, the person running around in the Captain Krakoa suit, is trying to blow people up with a nuke. So that's pretty serious. So I think that the one book that I look forward to, as soon as I saw it was out this week, I looked forward to reading it. That was Immortal Thor #3, and it did not disappoint. That is my Kliq of the week this week.
And shout out to this JR. Folks who saw looking at the video version saw that I had the cover up before I even started speaking. But shout out to but shout out to this JR variant cover. And that's both JR and JR Senior. I guess JR Junior after Senior. I suppose is the case. That's it is that you see here. As I write down what Agent 70 says, while I am talking about mine, which is no small feat. So Uncanny Spider-Man is a pretty good one this week, like I've already said. I think this one's probably a lock for me until I read some of the stuff that I didn't get to, like Wonder Woman #2 and Amazon's Attack and the Tales of the Titans, or the book that Agent 70 mentioned of, and Miss Marvel, because that was one of the ones that I definitely wanted to get to, as well as the whole Star Wars thing. But my Kliq of the week is, no surprise, I'm probably going to put this one for Dirts also, because whenever he gets a chance to read it, may be the case. Star Trek #13 is my Kliq of the week, because I continue to enjoy what's going on in that book.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, sorry, hearing weird noises outside, even with even with my headset. So that's kind of strange. But we're gonna push on to the news section. So first off, an ad read.
Our first ad read of the night, folks, only if you can hold your liquor, is for Wink. Wink is a world of wine delivered right to your door. From rosé to Cabernet to Torronté, Wink has over 100 styles of wine to discover. Have you ever tried an orange wine? Wink connects you to a world of exclusive wines tailored to your tastes and delivered directly to your door. Wink delivers 4 bottles of wine to you every month with free shipping. You can pick your own bottles or let Wink choose and match to your taste. It doesn't cost a thing to become a member, and you can skip or cancel anytime. And now the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can enjoy an exclusive discount of $20 off your first order. To place your first order with $20 off and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us/wink. That's cspn.us/WINC. Wink Wines through CSPN. Do it today. And now we get into the news.
Cinematic news. Starting off with apparently that the Boys spinoff Gen 5.
Yeah, Gen V.
Gen V.
Yeah.
It's getting a season 2 already, and
Not surprising. I've heard good things. I just have not had the urge to watch it yet.
right. Apparently there are 3 episodes left in this first season, but yeah, they've already been renewed for season 2. And yeah, like you just said, probably not surprising. I haven't watched The Boys or this, but yeah, I've been seeing things here and there, so sure, why not? Next up.
Alrighty, so in a foreword from Kevin Feige in the newly released Marvel Studios, the Marvel Cinematic Universe and Official Timeline book, Feige states that he recognizes that there are stories, movies, and series that are canonical to Marvel, but were created by different storytellers during different periods of Marvel's history. Feige explains, the timeline presented in this book is specific to the MCU's sacred timeline through Phase 4, but as we move forward and dive deeper into the multiverse saga, you never know when timelines may just crash or converge. Hint, hint, spoiler alert.
Right.
So, you never know, some of these, things that are now assumed to be non-canon may come, tumbling back into the sacred timeline.
Right. Or whether there's still a sacred timeline after a certain thing happened.
Right.
To say. Anyway. So yeah, and that book that Agent 70 is referring to just came out this week, by the way. So if you're interested in the official timeline of the MCU, hey, it's out there for you.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, though, we go back into the Loki season 2 with God dang it. So this is a reference, and I guess it's probably a spoiler for for episode 2, where there was a Marvel reference for a character that only had 3 comic book appearances. I did not know this character because this was as we like to say,
that's a deep cut,
very deep cut. So, as a matter of fact, I have a deep cut going back to the 40s or something. I can't remember. Or something I don't remember. But it was the Phone Ranger. So
go Phone Ranger,
right. So
don't let him hang up on you.
Oh no. Oh wait, it says created by Kurt Busiek and James Wan in 1985. So I'm sorry, it's not that deep of a cut, but it's still deep enough. Okay. Marvel Age Annual number 4, if you want to look that up. The Phone Ranger is a superhero. The superhero name of a mysterious man by the name of A.G. Bell. Boom, boom. Come on, you.
I mean, I was right.
Is probably the word for it, but you know what? There was a lot of that back then with character names. Actually, I would say that was sedate considering stuff from the 70s.
Yeah.
On the nose, but also still, that's never stopped comic books before. Nevertheless, there was that. Next up.
All right, Loki Season 2 Helmer Khazra Farahani details his working relationship with Jonathan Majors and addresses the actor's litany of legal troubles. So in speaking to Variety, he detailed his professional experiences with Majors amid the fallout from the actor's various allegations. While admitting his surprise about the allegations, Farahani credited Majors particularly for the ideas he brought to filming alongside co-stars Tom Hiddleston and Owen Wilson. Listen, if you were listening to the earlier part of the episode, we give Majors a lot of credit for how he's playing Timely. And I think a lot of the characterization that he applies and the acting, as Roddykat put it so well, with a capital A, that he, basically is bouncing off of both Owen Wilson and Tom Hiddleston. And it's a sight to see. It's a sight to watch and to listen to.
Yeah, totally. But litany is a good word. I feel like, yes, man does have it. I'm not I'm definitely not, taking out for man because I don't know the man like that. But I feel like there's another quote unquote actor who definitely has a litany of charges against him that doesn't get nowhere near the flack that this dude has been getting. That's all I'm gonna say. We've talked about it in the past.
Right.
So, yeah, it is. It continues to be that kind of a world, sadly. Anyway, next up, James Wan confirms a live-action Gargoyles series at Google Plus. Oh, sorry, I mean Disney Plus, not Google Plus. That's a different thing. Google Plus hadn't been around in quite some time.
Yep.
Although I miss it, I'll be honest. And apparently, good news for Gargoyles fans. Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. I was about to say, that's not good line. That's just a nice little byline that they happen to put in here. So I was about to say, some of the original voice actors are coming back, but that doesn't look to be the case. So yeah, that's pretty much all we know is that. Let me see. And this was according to a Hollywood Reporter. But this is from Entertainment Weekly, which, hey, both are credible enough as it is. So, and apparently it comes from Wan's Instagram account. It says the Gargoyles are out of the bag. Excited to be working with Gary Doberman again on this. He's a true fan. So, I showed this to a Gargoyles fan of mine, and they seem to be interested in this. I have said before, have not seen this show in its original entirety. So it's out there. Eventually I'm going to end up doing so. Next up.
Alrighty. Sorry, I had pulled up another story. Give me a moment. My apologies. So, Henry Cavill's Superman is missed by fans 1 year after his final appearance. 1 year to the day that Henry Cavill made his surprise return as Superman in Black Adam, which I still have not watched all the way through.
Same.
Fans are reliving the heartbreak of learning soon after that this was the character's final appearance. I mean, too bad, so sad, folks.
I mean, as Superman go, Cavill wasn't as bad as people gave him flack for.
He was good.
Yeah, so I don't know. People are crazy.
Yep.
DC fans also, Yeah, I said it. I say it again. Next up, though, hey, folks, did you enjoy the Star Trek Lower Decks and Strange New Worlds crossover, of which I have not seen? Guess what? There's probably going to be another one because there was one teased at New York Comic Con this year. By the way, I forgot to mention, I caught up on Star Trek Lower Decks. A couple of pretty good episodes. They are totally referential still, which still kind of irks me, and I finally figured out why the whole Rick and Morty-ness of it is because of the showrunner. I did not realize that at first, but nevertheless, I still like the show. But yeah, so the crossover happened between those two shows. I know what happens, but I haven't seen them for themselves. And it seems like, according to the showrunner of Lower Decks, yeah, there might be another one. So, or excuse me, Akiva Goldman says this, not Mike Mahan. So yeah. Next up.
Alrighty. Amazon's Fallout TV show finally has a release date and it launches April 12th, 2024. Confirmation comes from a tweet which reveals the release date from inside a Pip-Boy, Fallout's famous wearable computer. Okay. The first teaser for the upcoming Fallout TV show was revealed at Gamescom 2023, but wasn't released to the public. Okay.
Okay, well, see that part I did not know before I read this, but yeah, I know some Fallout fans. One in particular was very excited about this news as a Bethesda / Fallout fan. So, for those who don't know, Fallout, is RPG, open world RPG made by Bethesda. Open world jank is a word used sometimes associated with it. That and other open world games, but good stuff for one other. Starfield's great, by the way. Loving it. Anyway, next up. Mission Impossible. Good grace, voice. Hold on. Mission Impossible 8 release date delays sees it pushed out to 2024, and apparently they may have taken off the part 2 off of this one. I still haven't seen Dead Reckoning Part 1 yet. So, and I am a fan of the Mission Impossible, I guess, franchise series at this point. So, I don't know. There's reasons for that somehow. But, of course, the actor strike, which is still going on, is a key reason as to why it's being pushed back. Because, you know, one side of the strike has been settled, but not the other. It was going to originally be released in June of next year, but apparently, according to this article, it is slated to be released May 23rd, 2025. Giving me just enough time to watch the first one. I don't think I've watched Fallout, which is speaking of Henry Cavill, but that's, you know, whatever. But yeah, if you're looking for that movie to come anytime soon, yeah, keep wishing.
Yeah, it's on. I was about to say the most recent Dead Reckoning.
It is on Paramount.
Is on Paramount Plus, right?
Mm-hmm. I believe that's the case.
I haven't watched it. Yeah.
Well, weirdly enough, like I said, I hadn't watched that, and I think the one before it was Fallout, and I was like, wait, I haven't actually seen all of that one, because I think I watched part of it and didn't finish it for some reason. So, yeah, I get to it. Next up, though.
Ip Man 5 has a major Donnie Yen challenge to overcome. It's not his character being, spoilers, dead. Donnie Yen will return as Bruce Lee's kung fu mentor in Ip Man 5, but the movie has a bigger challenge to overcome than his death at the end of Ip Man 4, the finale. Donnie Yen's portrayal of famed Wing Chun Grandmaster Ip Man stands as his signature role with the Ip Man movie franchise, chronicling its title character's life story in a fictionalized form. So, blah, blah, blah. While Donnie Yen had previously declared his Ip Man retirement at various points in the series, only to subsequently return, Ip Man 5 is nonetheless a surprise for martial arts fans that is as welcome as it is as unexpected after Ip Man 4's ending. Okay, so we'll see how that is handled in Ip Man 5.
Yeah, we got a John Wick situation going on here apparently. Now, I watched. If you have not seen the original Ip Man, it is a great movie. I think I've seen 2. The rest of them feel like cash grabs, but I will still watch them, even though I have not at this point. But
right.
Yeah, if you're going to call something the finale, which I guess Final Fantasy fans would be like, yeah, they've been doing this for years. But yeah, you would think that's it. So, but I guess if Donnie Yen, who wanted to come back for it, I guess there's still something to it. Oh, cut that off really quick. As we get into the anime corner.
Transmute.
Nice. Avatar: The Last Airbender live action reveals first look at Fire Nation, because it was, everything was good until the Fire Nation attacked. Including a very good looking Iroh and Azula. So for those who, I'm going to pull up these images on the video version for folks. There's Aang, there's Katara, there's Sokka, there's Zuko, there's another Zuko, but here's Paul Sung-hyun as Uncle Iroh. So Appa is playing Iroh, folks. And I gotta say, they got him looking pretty good. Also, there is Elizabeth Yu as Azula, I guess a younger looking Azula from here, and Daniel Day Kim as Fire Lord Ozai. So, and not Mark Hamill. But yeah, I don't know. I might have to watch this one. I don't know. I feel kind of way about these live action things, but. Some of these pictures look pretty good. Whether the picture itself holds out, and some of the cast they got in here, I'd watch them. We'll see how that works out. Next up.
Okay, Burn the Witch number 0.8 anime flies in with a new trailer and a December broadcast. So, this is a prequel story that was originally published in 50th anniversary issue of Weekly Shonen Jump from Bleach creator Tite Kubo. So it's made it into an anime with the series announcing its December 29th worldwide premiere date in a brand new trailer and visual that also revealed a new character and the theme tune. Also, shout out to Attack on Titan, which is finally going to air its final episode very, very soon. Not before the next episode, but our next episode, but probably soon after.
So I'm glad you've mentioned that. It's funny you should mention that because you'll get a kick out of this. I have a friend of mine who I just talked to who had just restarted watching Attack on Titan recently because and the reason why they restarted is because they forgot where they were because it's been so long since it's and I did not know this person would even be into that. Well, that show, much less anime, because they're kind of particular. So when they told me that, I was like, huh, that's quite interesting.
There it is.
I would almost watch it with him, but I'm not. So, moving on to the manga corner.
Oh.
So apparently there is a shonen manga called Akane Banashi who is challenging the perceptions of what a shonen manga is, according to this article. This article kind of goes into the reasons why it is subverting those expectations. One of which it's starring a young girl, and there aren't that many shonen anime that does that. There are a few, don't get me wrong, so don't come at me for this. There aren't that many, because shonen are usually geared quote unquote towards the boys. So there is that. But apparently the story of Akane Banashi is the story of a young girl named Akane who dreams of becoming a professional rakugoka one day. And apparently that is a storyteller who engages in, who's a storyteller, a performing storyteller, I guess, normally done by guys. It's like it is done as a solo performer and has no props. The stories told are one of a variety of stock tales from ancient times, which the audience is generally aware of. So, and according to this article, it says sounds like a compelling topic for a shonen manga, but the series takes this very niche subject and brilliantly, according to this article, adapts it to the shonen narrative while revolutionizing it at the same time. So, if that is something that sounds interesting to you, hey, check it out, because I'm pretty sure it's out there in Shonen Jump. Yes. Next up.
All righty. Guess what, folks? Tom Brevoort has named his successor as Avengers editor, and that is Will Moss. And that he's going to be the Avengers editor for 2024. Tom Brevoort is still transitioning over from the Avengers titles over to the X corner, but Will Moss is moving over to the Avengers corner of the Marvel Universe.
And if I'm not mistaken, Will Moss has had experience with the Avengers corner prior to this in some capacity, but I can't remember.
Right.
Probably like an associate editor or something, but I don't remember. Regardless, he's got the whole kit and caboodle. So yeah, this comes from Brevoort's newsletter, which I've been, checking out as of recently, and some good stuff, some interesting stuff from the dude to certain folks. So, including part of this, because that Avengers United Marvel Unlimited Marvel Infinity thing, I found out from there, but it was definitely something we talked about previously. Either way, next up. Oh wait, it's me in it. So, 8 to 7. Why don't you take this one actually?
Okay, 1 second. So, this is an article straight from the Marvel webpage. Marvel Superheroes Secret Wars Facsimile Edition, as I wait for this website to reload, celebrates the multiple facsimile editions celebrate the 40th anniversary of the original Marvel crossover event. Starting in January 2024, each issue of the 12 issue limited series, and an entire year of The Amazing Spider-Man, starting at 252, will be represented in its original form. Wow. That's kind of fun, guys. It's kind of fun. It's one of my favorite stories of all time.
Same.
I grew up I was in elementary school reading this, and you could not take these comics out of my hands. They were so good.
Yeah, I was around that also. But yeah, like I said, this is one of those ones that I kind of wish we had gotten to when we're doing our Evergreen episodes. I don't know why we actually didn't do it, outside of the fact that we started getting books back again. But I figure like this, knowing how near and dear the Marvel Superhero Secret Wars is to us, I'm slightly surprised that wasn't the first one we did.
Yeah.
For some reason, but hey, it is what it is. Still a good story to read. I guess so good that they've done 3 other Secret Wars to varying degrees of quality. Looking at you, Secret Wars 2. Anywho, meet Spider-Woman's new enemy, Green Mamba, and yes, this is in Jessica Drew's new book. That is also going to be a Gang War crossover, of course, because that's going to be a thing that we're going to be dealing with for the next 3 months. Let's see, Spider-Woman, number 1 is coming out November 29th, and it's going to introduce this villain, Green Mamba, as Jessica's looking for someone near and dear to her, and there are at least a preview page here. Well, at least going to be hints of who that person is in the preview pages that are given here. So there you go. I'll leave folks to check out that in the show notes if you want to, if you didn't see that very quick scroll that I just did. Next up.
All righty. One moment.
The Raging 70 off. I'm about to throw him off again in a few, but he'll thank me for it.
Cable joins the final battle for Krakoa in new Cable series by Fabian Nicieza. The fight to save Krakoa is upon us. The final battle will be told across 2 interconnected series, as we've talked about before: Fall of the House of X and Rise of the Powers of 10, as well as various tie-in issues. And now we're getting Fabian Nicieza and Scott Eaton on Cable, launching in January. Okay.
If you have not been reading Children of the Vault, you should. It's a pretty good buddy cop story, in addition to what else they're doing in there with Cable and Bishop, who historically have never liked each other, and they kind of play with that a little bit in the course of that. But yeah. Also, I think I might have put something up on CB Caps from that issue, so I can't remember. But if I haven't, if I have, check out what's up there now anyway. But good stuff. Pardon me one moment while I fix something really, really quickly. Don't know why it's doing this.
Got it?
Hey, I got it. It's just I don't know, it's weird. Weird camera issues. EA Iron Man game is being developed in Unreal Engine 5. So apparently, according to a blog post from EA Motive, Unreal Engine 5 will quote, empower the dev team to work their magic and create something very, really special. And as Unreal folks who may know Unreal Engine probably have some pop in or whatnot, but that's the most endearing qualities about that engine. Anywho, so yeah, apparently EA Motive is focusing on Iron Man after switching from that recent Dead Space remake, which I hear people like a whole lot. So if they can bring some quality to a new Iron Man game and not being a piece of shovelware like old licensed Marvel games used to be, hey, we might have something on our hands. We'll see. Which you might see some of those old games being played sometime soon. And now that I have a couple of pieces that I need. So that's going to be a revisitation I'm not looking forward to, but hopefully folks will enjoy. Next up.
So I'm going to start this story with a question. Have you picked this game up yet?
Picked it up? Yes. Played it? No.
Marvel Spider-Man 2 is the fastest selling PlayStation Studios game ever, apparently.
Yeah.
So it's sold through more than 2.5 million copies in 24 hours, Sony revealed. Okay.
Look, when I tell you there was much fervor, and I've seen a lot of people playing the game, which I have not watched myself because I want to play through, play going relatively spoiler free.
Right.
Outside of some of the stuff that I've seen, in leading up to the game coming out. Yeah, people were hot on this game, and we are getting into the season where there are a lot of games coming out. But yeah, people, and I've seen people saying they've been enjoying it. And the game looks good, and if you like the first game or even the first two games, you'll probably like this one. Is the general thought of this. And apparently, this article kind of comes with a bunch of Easter eggs that might be in it, which not surprised because those games are full of Easter eggs for stuff. Again, some of which may be shown in another way at some point, if I can get off my laurels. Now, next up, I'm going to take these next two because I know Agent 70 does not want them.
Okay.
And actually, they're related anyway because Magic the Gathering and Marvel Comics are going to cross over.
I saw this story. I groaned.
Yeah, so folks may or may not know Magic the Gathering for the last few years has been, doing crossover stuff with a bunch of different franchises. I suppose it was only a matter of time before one of the big two get into bed with them. And here we are. And apparently, according to the next article, the whole Magic the Gathering and Marvel collaboration is going to be a multi-year, multi-set deal. Now, as a person who loves card games and loves Magic the Gathering and has played a couple of, at least one or two Marvel-based card games, I like this. I'm hoping there's going to be some digital stuff come out of this and not just physical cards, although I will probably try to get those also. It's not the first time there's been a card-based Marvel game, put it this way. Just not one that's associated with, some would say, the daddy of card games.
Right.
And that being Magic the Gathering. So, but yeah, apparently there's a video that was announcing that. But I did not watch that. So I will have to check that out. But I saw this and I was like, okay, sure, that's going to be a thing. And now that I've seen this other article, it's going to be a few different things, apparently. So, yeah, that's going to be fun. That's going to be, hopefully that's going to be fun, depending on how they do things. But in order to, we'll obviously keep an eye and an ear on this and move on to the next story, which is.
Oh, so you've already done the combo stories?
Yeah.
He-Man and TMNT combined for Turtles of Grayskull figures. That is a sentence I don't think I ever thought I would utter. Oh, I'm waiting. Goodness gracious. By the oh my goodness, I can't even read that. That's terrible. Superhero hype. Where are your editors? So, arguably the hottest toy line of the 80s will mesh with its 90s counterpart in Turtles of Grayskull. So, now, per the press release from Mattel, the partnership between Masters of the Universe and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles allows fans to create new storytelling moments within the Turtles of Grayskull line, which outfits characters including Leonardo and Raphael, Donatello and Michelangelo, with Eternian-style battle gear. And He-Man from Masters of the Universe will battle his mutagen mutation, while Skeletor will don turtle-inspired armor. Okay. Yeah, you know what? It's time to get funky.
So the funny thing, as I'm scrolling through some of these figures, including, I don't know who this character is, but it's basically Krang.
Mm-hmm.
In what looks like an orc suit. Was this Triclops? Is that Triclops? I can't remember this dude's name. With a Mouser arm, and of course Donatello in man-at-arm gear. So the funny thing I was going to get to was that comic wise, both of these franchises have done a lot of crossovers. I'm kind of surprised there hasn't been one, well, that I remember, one between the two of them.
Right.
Yes, but I have a suspicion that these are probably coming. These look like kit bashes. Like somebody just like threw these together in a drunken or high state and was like, "Oh, what if we do this?" Not saying they're bad, but hey, some strange looking figures. Of course, Leonardo has two swords that almost look like He-Man's. Anyway, so that's the thing. Do we have a date on these, or just that we know this is coming? January 2024. Yeah. So we'll probably talk a little bit more about these for closer to that time. Next up, though, and there's a new Invincible game that is like playing your own version of the comic book, according to this article. So this is an upcoming game, actually, called Invincible Presents Adam Eve. It is a video game is it an RPG? It says, you're Adam Eve, a teen superhero that's looking to balance her obligations of family and school with those of her crime-fighting group, the Teen Team. It follows a loose adaptation of the plot of the comics, and according to this article, there's a brief preview that includes several sections that directly lifted scenes or dialogue from the comic and show of the name Invincible. I still have not watched that episode of Adam Eve yet. I'm about to get to that because I know next week actually is when the new season of.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I believe they said the third or fourth is.
That's quick.
Yeah, is when the new season. And granted, it's only going to be 4 episodes, but still, it's still going to be a thing. So yeah, this is actually kind of cool because I don't think there's been that I can remember an Invincible video game, or not a good one if there was one before I did this. So November 14th, which sure makes sense given that the new season is coming out, is going to be is when this going to come out for PC on Steam. It says further platforms are set to be announced, but yeah, most people are on Steam anyway, so I'm pretty sure that's not a surprise. It's going to be there. It's either going to be Steam or Epic, so I may have to check this out. Even though I'm not the biggest, I don't know that much about Invincible outside of the show and what little I've read of the comic book. So, next up, though,
Skybound Tabletop unleashes a new Invincible game. It's a new board game which will hit retail in February 2024. In this game, based on the hit Amazon series, players assume the roles of the Guardians of the Globe or astronauts who are trying to escape Mars without bringing home a sequid parasite, which could potentially destroy the world. Okay. Let's see here. It will retail for $24.99.
Yes. Next up, though, Into the Beast Wars with Hasbro's new Transformers masterpiece, Rhinox. So yeah, there's a new Rhinox figure, and I guess this was the third one. So there's a Optimus Primal that you can see here. There's a Cheetor, which I did see those, but now there's a Rhinox, which I kind of almost want to pick up. So I don't know. I haven't really dove into that corner of the Transformers figures yet. It is, however, a little pricey, so that's probably not going to happen anytime soon, even if it happens. The pre-orders are live, and it's going to be $220 with a release date of September 2024. But it's a masterpiece Transformer, so those things are pricey anyway, so that price is not that big of a surprise. So, next up.
So, if you missed out on these the first time, you can roll out with the first Transformers 40th anniversary collectibles. Come on, they're toys. So the initial assortment of these retro 40th anniversary figures are Autobot Blaster and Steeljaw. That's Blaster's cassette. Yeah, for those of you who have no idea what cassettes are. And Soundwave with Laser Beacon Ravage. So yeah, that's pretty cool. You know what? These things have been super expensive, like the masterpiece versions. And if you want something that's a little bit more reasonably priced, that is based on the original G1 releases, this may be right up your alley.
Yeah, and
This is set to come out, set to ship. I'm sorry, February 15th, 2024.
Yeah, I mean they've had a I don't want to call it a low budget line, but they've been having some of these out and for cheaper because it's like the War for Cybertron stuff. So they've had a line that was kind of a little bit cheaper that had these figures out. But since this is an anniversary, they can they can do things like this. I think I have both of those actually. I might be looking for a blaster, but I definitely have a Soundwave, and I think I do have the masterpiece Soundwave. So, in lieu of the one that I used to have that I no longer have before.
Right.
Yeah. And so real quick, a funny thing. So this is notably, I guess, Soundwave is coming with Laserbeak and Ravage. Of those two cassettes, and also notably missing in later iterations of the cartoon, as if you follow a certain Twitch channel on online. Laserbeak is usually the only one that gets called out by Soundwave. Like Ravage barely even shows up in season.
Rumble
3.
every once in a while.
That's just it. Not even then. Rumble and Frenzy I have not seen it. And I'm talking like season 3 because I've been watching a little bit of season 3 Transformers lately because of the certain Twitch channel, which I'm not going to name because I don't want to get them in trouble. But
Right.
But yeah, and even at the end of one of the shows, and I remember this originally, it was like the only tape they talk about are Blasters tapes and Laserbeak. Well, Ratbat also, but Ratbat is also a later tape, so that's funny. Which is also not in this particular set, so that's interesting. But also worth noting, it looks like there is a Sound Blaster. Is that a Sound Blaster? Yes, that looks like a Sound Blaster. That is and a Shockwave that is also in this new set. So yeah. Anyway, stay tuned for that. Next up, though, we head back to the comic books with new G.I. Joe continuity. Cobra's official roster has been revealed, including, according to this article, a shock G.I. Joe hero. And this is sounds like this is coming from January's Cobra Commander #1, which is the miniseries set in the Energon universe. That is, that bridges Transformers and G.I. Joe. I know before then we will see the Duke miniseries, and I think G.I. Joe, the ongoing series, is not going to happen. Actually, it might happen by the time this comes out. I can't remember. But Cobra Commander #1 is going to be on sale for January 7th. From Skybound Entertainment, of course. And if you're watching the video version of the show, you can see an Instagram post from Skybound Entertainment with some notable Cobra figures in it. The one they're talking about that's from the Joes, I'm not entirely sure. Well, actually, I mean, I know which one it is because I know which one it isn't, but I don't know of this Joe. But if you're not watching the video version, you see Cobra Commander, Destro, Zarana of all people, and Mercer, which I think is the Joe in question, or former Joe in question. Don't know who that person is. So therefore, I don't care as much. I thought it was Chuckles because Chuckles did go over the cover for a good old while in Cobra. So. Anyway, that's a little neither here nor there. Next up.
Alrighty. Where are we? Mattel has partnered with Abrams IDW for Monster High novels and comics. So IDW Publishing and Abrams Books will publish new comics based on Mattel's Monster High franchise, including middle grade and YA novel series from Abrams and a 10-issue comic series from IDW. This is all going to the Abrams middle grade series is titled Monster High School Spirits, and the first volume of Fright to Remember by Adriana Cuevas will be released on October 31st, 2024. Wow, we're way out. all this stuff is Free Comic Book Day 2024. That's going to be a new Monster High, new Scare Mister on Free Comic Book Day. Yeah, this is all 2024 stuff.
Well, they some of the stuff kind of gets out there.
Yeah, that's on lead time.
Just a bit. Apparently, there is going to be a prequel comic for Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon. As according to this article, it's going to be essential reading. I have not watched that movie. I don't know if it's even out yet. No, it is not. It's coming out December 22nd. But yes, a prequel comic is going to come out in the most opportune time, January 2024, and delves into the origin stories of the characters of Devra and Darian Bloodaxe. It's going to be a 4-part comic series written by Max Visaggio and features art by Clark Bent. And I guess provides additional context to that whatever that Rebel Moon thing is. Okay, whatever. Next up.
Todd McFarlane and Image Comics are launching several new Spawn spin-off comic books, including a brand new series starring Gunslinger Spawn. Spawn. So he's launching, Todd McFarlane is launching 10 new comic books in the Spawn universe. So, yeah, that's, you know what? It's always been ripe for expansion. He just needed to allow other creators into the Spawn universe. And there have been efforts. And obviously, there's one infamous time with Neil Gaiman. So, you know, at the end of the day, there's still plenty of story ideas to mine there.
But also, I feel like there's actually been recent Spawn. There's been a good bit because I as one who pulls the covers for the books every week, so I feel like I continue to see Spawn books listed out there. So it's not like they've had a shortage or of them, but more power to them, I guess. Last but not least, though, is one I just pulled, so I can just go ahead and get this out of the way. DC boss exits Warner Brothers Discovery. So it says here that Warner Brothers Discovery president of global brands, franchises, and experiences, Pam Leiford, is leaving the company to focus on a family healthcare issue. DC President Jim Lee and General Manager Ann DePiez will report directly to Leiford's boss. DC has confirmed. So I assume they're probably going to find someone to take the. Oh no, they already have. Excuse me. So Bruce Campbell, not the actor. The DC has confirmed at least. Well, excuse me. Wait. Leiford had previously reported to WBD Chief Revenue and Strategy Officer Bruce Campbell. Lee and DePiez will now report to Campbell directly. And apparently Campbell comes from the Discovery side of things, so that doesn't bode well of the merger. He was the lead negotiation for the deal. Yada, 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 yakety schmackety, NBC Universal, yada, yada, yada. So the change will take place on November 27th. Per the company. So, yikes. And that, folks, is the end of the news section. Can we get one last ad read?
Come on, folks. You know what happens at the end of the show. We're tired. It's late. We've been going for a while. Help us keep our podcast free by shopping at Amazon, which is what I was doing just now because I realized I ran out of something. Visit CSPN.us, then click the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down and click on the Amazon link to shop. Purchase items from Amazon as you normally would, whether it's books, music, electronics, jewelry, apparel, or Marvel Legends. For every purchase made on Amazon through our link, the CSP and Amazon sends the CSPN a payment that helps us keep the Comic Book Chronicles podcast free for our listeners at no extra cost to you. Amazon.com through CSPN.us. Do it today. That was not the ad read we're going to record for future reference.
I'm not cutting that out, but yes, you're right. Actually, well, I don't think we have to worry about Amazon because I think you might got those covered. Either way, we have come to the end of another show. We will be back. We will be back next week, but not on Thursday. Correct? This is.
Now you're gonna make me. I now see. Now we got to check our calendars again. We got to check our calendars again, folks.
I said, how am I the one that remembers this? And this is your thing.
Well, listen, it's late, man. I'm tired.
I know.
I gotta look at my calendar again. Hold on. Hold on. Letting it load. Yes, I believe I am otherwise engaged next Thursday evening. So that's kind of one reason why we decided to go a little all out with talking about 2 episodes of Loki tonight. So yes, we will be recording next week on November 3rd.
Yeah, so catch it. But until then, folks, I've been Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at News on Twitter. You can find my CB Caps on Instagram. Agent_70 on Twitter. Pop culture. What am I doing? Agent 70, Twitter, Instagram, Threads. Now we get the PC_Dirt. I don't know why it wasn't even on the screen anywhere. PC_Dirt on Twitter, Pop Culture Net on Twitter, PopCultureNetwork.com is all the umbrella site they're in. And last but never, ever least, Tim, DOGG98 on Twitter, CB Chron on Twitter, which is the Comic Book Chronicles Twitter account, The Kliq Nation on Twitter, that's TheKlaqNation, all one word, TheKliqNation.com. But of course, he is over at comicbook.com, where he's over there writing his face off. Timothy Adams, go check him out. He is back from his hiatus, isn't he?
Not sure. I've got to ask.
Yeah, I guess so. Or just check the site.
It's been a couple of months, so it's hard to know. So.
Right. Or I'll just check the site one way or the other because I know he's busy. You can find this here podcast on the Cold Slither Podcast Network. It says cspn.us.
Do it today.
You can also find us on your podcast perusal place of choice, whether it be Google Play, Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Cold Slither Podcast Network SoundCloud page.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, and leave us all the positive 5-star reviews, especially on Apple Podcasts.
Yeah, you can find us normally recording every Thursday night, 9:30-ish Eastern Standard Time on the YouTube channel of The Kliq Nation. That's youtube.com/TheKliqNation and twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, and hit the notification button to let yourself know when we are on live broadcasting and recording.
Yes. And with that, stay tuned to our social media for when we record. Like I said, we're going to do it next Friday, so there's that. But still stay tuned just in case there's any issue or change or whatnot, or for anything else that we might end up doing on this here channel. Last but not least, I want to say rest in peace to both Richard Roundtree, the original Shaft, who passed away recently, and hip-hop, I guess some would call him an icon for one reason alone. DJ Mark the 45 King, maker of the 900 number, which goes a little something like this. It keeps going from there, so you get the picture.
Right. But, shout out to Ed Lover.
Yes.
Rest in peace, the other version of Dr. Dre.
Wait, did he? He did pass, didn't he? Oh, shit.
Yep.
And I forgot about that. Man, whew, we are getting old. But anyway, this has been the Comic Book Chronicles. Peace.
Peace. One.
Wakanda forever!